Sheldon. I've been a writer, actually finishing things and getting things published since 2014. Most of my published work is for children, so I started off writing middle grade novels. I've got 2 published, one by Firefly, one by Ilolva, and 2 picture books published, and various other things in magazines and blogs. Chrissy 1. I take my time getting ready so he can say how long I take and how typical it is, and I smile, all the while thinking, you prick, next time I'll be even longer. And once I didn't bother, left my hair limp in straggles, didn't change from trainers, lips bare, nose red and shiny. And his double take was genuine, so I hammed it up and sniffed a bit and pulled a face and went with it. He stayed away from me all night, flirted with Amelia, getting touchier and feelier. I watched her more than I watched him, intrigued at how this show would go. She touched her hair a lot and laughed out loud. They were the only people in the place. And I left them for a while until the whole damn thing was in my head. I stalked across the room and said, "He's actually funnier in bed." Her face fell and hit the floor, and I wanted to join it there, sit still in the dropped crumbs and spilt gin and grin at my wit until I realise I'm the butt of my own joke. And so, now, although resentment swirls in my face cream and spits in my lipstick, I change for our nights out. I dress up and make up, I prime and I pluck, I enhance and disguise. I'm all legs, lips and eyes, I'm all curled hair and charm. I'm the jewel on his arm, and then home to bed. And night times fed with Valium and brandy shots, and I forgot just how long he takes when he's pissed. The ride is relentless, and somewhere at some point I know I've zoned out. I'm halfway up a mountain in the spring. The sudden flax outlines tracks I'm free to tread up and up and up, and back in bed I forget to pretend, to tighten at the end and sigh his name in gratitude or relief at his release. But know this, he doesn't notice. You might think this depresses me, but really it untethers me from just another job I have to do. On Tuesday I lose it. We're both going to work and he's taking the car. I'm standing there in bra and knickers, and he grabs the car keys and says, "Don't wait, I think I'll be late." I say, I need the key to the sole of his shoe. It's a real fuck you, his one quick train ride to my winding too. Have you been there? That place where you know there'll be fallout, but you're compelled and exalted, and it's all in your throat and your mind is divided, and half is going, what the fuck, and the other half is yes, yes, yes. Then it's coming from your chest, boiling your blood white. Packing the bag to leave, I can taste it. Dangerous and vital. I swear they can see it, the commuters and drones and the kids on their phones. It oozes through my skin. I smell wild. And here, the mountain, hill, I suppose, but that's semantics, just language pedantic. And this, I surge as I move upwards. I've always loved poetry, reading it and writing it. I feel I've been drawn to it in moments in my life where nothing else will do in terms of an expressive form, an art form. When I was little, I would be read poetry by my father, and I remember being introduced to poets like Dylan Thomas at quite a young age and not really understanding what he was talking about, but loving the lyricism of the language and the images that it would paint in my mind. So I've always been drawn, but I've never really felt as though I was a poet. I could call myself a poet until a couple of years ago I wrote a poem specifically for an event. It was a little festival that we had in the church, and I wanted to write something that evoked a sense of place, and the church here in Lantwick Major is very, very old. It's probably a much more technical way of describing it. But I wanted to write something very specific for that, and so I wrote an epic narrative and performed it. And the response that I got was so positive that I grew in confidence enough to have a bit more of a play, and to see what was in me, really. And I started writing a verse novel, having read an awful lot of verse novels, and I found that was just the most expressive form of writing for me. So I've written a lot of prose, I've written some plays, I've written even a screenplay, but this was very different. The whole process felt very different. I get quite lost in it, and without realising it, I put quite a lot of myself into it. It's semi-autobiographical, although none of the events are. The character is certainly, there's a lot of me in it. And that felt quite cathartic, I suppose. And when I sent it to Firefly Press and they liked it enough to want to publish it, that gave me even more confidence to say, oh, okay, maybe I can call myself a poet. I'm part of a writing circle, and they are just the most inspiring group of people. We're a very eclectic bunch, all ages, from all walks of life, and we come together and share our work. And a couple of people in there in particular have been really instrumental in making me see that that I can write poems and I can perform them, and it's a really important way of expressing what I want to express or what I have to express. The work that I'm working on at the moment is for adults, and it's maybe going to be a verse novel. It's one of those things where you start writing something and it turns into something a little bit different. But at the heart of it is the theme of being able to say whatever you need to say, however controversial that might be, or however it's not in keeping with people's impression of you, which is something that I've battled with maybe for quite a few years. I'm a primary school teacher and I've written a lot for children, and I'm in this very vanilla little box, but actually what I want to say is a lot more pushing at the boundaries. So this work is a character poem. So there's two voices, Chrissy and Irene, and they're two women at pivotal points in their lives who are expressing themselves through these poems and telling a story between them. The working title is Out Loud from Closed Mouths, because it speaks a lot about the true experiences of women, and there's a lot for women at my age to say, and there's a lot of experience and a lot of perhaps things that aren't talked about or expected of us, and it's quite liberating, it's quite freeing to be able to talk about those things. And I left it for a while until the whole damn thing was in my head. I stalked across the room and said, "He's actually funnier in bed." Her face fell and hit the floor, and I wanted to join it there, sit still in the dropped crumbs and spilt gin and grin at my wit until I realise that I'm the butt of my own joke. So now, although resentment swirls in my face cream and spits in my lipstick, I change for our nights out. I dress up and make up, I prime and I pluck, I enhance and disguise. I'm all legs, lips and eyes, I'm all curled hair and charm. I'm a jewel on his arm, and then home to bed. And night times fed with Valium and brandy shots, and I forgot just how long he takes when he's pissed. The ride is relentless, and somewhere, at some point, I know I zone out. I'm halfway up a mountain in the spring. Sudden flax outlines tracks I'm free to tread up and up and up, and back in bed I forget to pretend. to tighten at the end and sigh his name in gratitude or relief at his release. But know this, he doesn't notice. You might think this depresses me, but really it untethers me from just another job I have to do. So in 5 years' time, I'm not sure I can think that far ahead, because as I found the last few years of writing, sometimes I've started things and I think they're going to be one thing and they've turned out to be something completely different. I want to allow myself the space to do that. I think that's really important. Yes, it's important to have a plan and a goal and an aspiration, but to also have the freedom to change that and to go with what life throws at you, especially when you're producing poetry that's very personal and based on experiences and your knowledge and understanding and people around you and yourself. And so the poems that I'm working on at the moment, I'm probably about halfway through writing them as a complete body of work. And there's a narrative arc to the poems, so the two female voices tell a story, and I think that story, I've got an end in mind for it. Whether it'll end up there is another thing, but I would love to see that finished as a full collection. Daniel is handsome Dan the man. I see this like a strapless dress on a mannequin, its style and its beauty, and it just doesn't suit me. He's packing a poser bag for the plane and saying again how he's needed in Bruges. His fake frustration and indignation is almost endearing, but I've indulged his small boy ego far too long, and my patience is gone. I calculate the minutes till he leaves, 3 for this bag scene, 2 for a teeth clean, 1 for a wee, and then free. He reminds me again to meet him at the airport. I hold the door open to speed things up, and he nearly kisses me goodbye. I want to be naked. I want to blast out tunes from every speaker in the house, especially his Bose ones that could be forgiven for thinking they're only allowed to play Saint-Germain and Bonobo. I don't, though. I run a bath and bask and see if I float without his weight around my throat.